What's up to all my people, and welcome to Stoniecast number 117, Season 4, Episode 15 of Thoughts and Hunches, Making Money in Bunches and Sucker Punches. It's your boy Stony coming back at you for the 117th time. And I'd like to welcome all of my fellow scumbags, lowlifes, hoodlums, shady characters, anybody named Phil Mickelson, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, hustlers, cheats, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics, friends and family of the gooch, fienders with abusive language, degenerates. I mean, let's face it, anybody with a massive gambling problem. Welcome. If you're new to the show, hey, you probably fit into a few of those categories. So welcome aboard, because you're now officially one of us. One of us, one of us, one of us, one of us, gooba gobble, one of us. We accepted one of us. Do you know the reference? Who knows the reference? Does anybody get that reference and know where that reference comes from? Comment on it. Text me. See if you know. Just curious. If you do, we'll see who gets it, right? Hey, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down here in the lower right-hand corner. That way you can get notified every single time I put out a new video. And to spread the word, that's also very easy. Just tell other degenerates to go to YouTube and enter Thoughts and Hunches in the search bar. That'll take you to my page, so that way you can get dialed into everything that I give you. Also, if you're new and you don't know what's with this channel, it's college and pro football winners, MLB playoff winners, and college basketball winners. I give you my picks to get you to the window with a ticket to cash. The books don't expect a guy like me to deliver this many winners. I'm an outlier. I'm a disruptor. I'm like the Beastie Boys. Check into the party, step into the party, disrupt the whole scene. Oh, blasphemy, misquoting the Beastie Boys. But I got it. Hey, that's what I do. Now, before I get to the picks, I have a few thoughts and programming notes as usual. Let's start with Deion Sanders. Prime time. Really, Deion? I'm a fan, and I always have been, and I always will be. But this season went down the drain quickly. For all the hype at the start of the season, his Buffaloes have now dropped 8 out of 9, and the cherry on top is that he just lost 3 top recruits in the last week because his team isn't very good. I never liked the NIL deal for students or the transfer portal, and I still don't. I think they ruin college football, and it damages the players who can bounce from school to school to make more money instead of receiving proper coaching from the same coach for at least 3 years. Why are there 25 and 26-year-olds playing in college? Well, you got the transfer portal, and you got a free COVID year, NIL, where players who, even if they get drafted by the NFL, can make more money in college than they will playing on Sunday. Deion's program right now is in disarray. He's bashing the NCAA, which everyone does, and it's not a big deal, but it's all falling apart. Get it together, Deion, quickly. Next up is a story of the NFL favorites. In a season that the dogs have covered more than the favorites by a nice margin, last week was a bloodbath for the books. Let me tell you why. Favorites went 12-4 against the number last week. And had it not been for Minnesota's ineptitude on Monday night, it would have been 13-3 for the favorites in 1 week. That would have been the most since the merger back in the 60s. Think about that for a minute. 13 out of 16 would have been the record. They settled for a tie of the record at 12-4, which has happened 2 other times. But 12-4 for the favorites. Books need dogs, and books will be fine, right? But they need the dogs to cover. And I guarantee you that they just got housed last weekend because Joe Q Public Better takes the favorites at a 70% clip. For those of you that follow me, you know I love my dogs, so I was unhappy, especially with the brutal record of reverse turf home dogs last week. I'll get to that in a minute. Speaking of last week, it was just a battle all week for me. Nothing came easy. 7-3-1 in NCAA football heading into Saturday, which was nice, right? But I stumbled down the stretch, right? Though I I did hit the degenerate special again, right? So that's always a good thing. But 12-10 on Saturday is certainly not what I was looking for. But I had to close out the college football week at 19-13-1, which I'll take every single week of the year. College hoops was a true battle, as I started well, but got nothing but 500 days for the rest of the week after, Thanksgiving. 39-40 for the week is absolutely unacceptable. Right? I just can't do that. That was my worst college basketball week in 3+ years. The NFL was weird also. As I said a minute ago, the rate that the favorites were covering was ridiculous. And you all know my propensity for the dogs. 1-2 on Thanksgiving, because I bet against the Niners. I hit the Black Friday game. Sunday, I went 6-5. The Monday night game, I hit that one, and that made me settle for a 9-7 week, which I'll take. 9-7. The kicker was that the reverse turf home underdog angle that I always play and was hitting at a high 67% going into this past weekend was absolutely dreadful for me as they went 1-4, including Seattle, who I took on Thanksgiving because they were a reverse turf home dog, even though the 49ers were a lock, let's face it. And add it all up, and it was a disappointing but profitable, though not much for the season. And yes, that was my 10th straight winning week. Still can't go wrong with that. Here are the numbers. Last week, all together, 68 wins, 60 losses, 1 tie. 53.12%. Not a good week. But a wise man once said you can't go broke taking a profit. Oh, that was me. Guess I'm the wise man. NCAA football for the season. This is the last week of the regular season. Yes, I know it's not the regular season. It's conference championship week. There's only 10 games. And then next week is the traditional one standalone game, the Army-Navy game, before bowl season starts. So this is it for college football regular season. All my picks, 229 wins, 169 losses, 4 pushes, for a total of 57.54%. I'll take that every year. I wanted 58 this year. Couldn't quite get there, but 57.54, I'll take it. NFL, 115 wins, 67 losses, 2 ties, good for 63.19%, and that's after a 16-14 2-week stretch. That goes to show how hot I was for that last month. NCAA hoops for the season now, numbers are dropping. 135 wins, 112 losses, 1 tie, 54.66%. I took a 3-point dip after that horrible week. 79 picks, and you're at 39-40. That's just not going to get it done. So overall, every single pick that I've given you in all 14 episodes so far, 534 wins, 384 losses, and 8 pushes. 58.17% after a dip from high 58s, now down to low 58s. It's time to climb back and get to the goal of 59. You're welcome. Just remember that all of these picks are 100% free. So for all of the touts out there that give you 75 to 80% documented winners, come on. We all know you're full of shit. Plus, you're charging for these picks, and they're not documented. With me, they're documented right here for you. Come to YouTube every week, and I'll drop my plays on you for free. You can also follow me on X at Stony Woods, STONIE Woods. The new week began yesterday, and if you're following my college hoops picks in the comment section of my videos, you'll know that I went 5-5 to start the week. Starting the day 0-4, I'll gladly take 5-5 as I ripped off 5 out of 6 to close the night. But college hoops is being a severe drain right now, so it's time to pick up the pace. And here's tonight's NCAA college basketball plays. You ready? Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern in Stonydelphia. Give me St. Joseph's plus 12.5 at Villanova. I always take the dog in a battle of Philly's Big Five. Always. 7 Eastern on FS1. I like LaSalle plus 4.5 at Temple in another battle of Philly's Big Five, where I'm going again with the dog. 7:15 Eastern in Chapel Hill at the Dean Dome on ESPN. I'm on North Carolina here at home, laying 2.5 over Tennessee in the ACC SEC Challenge. A lot of games like that tonight, a lot of ACC SEC Challenge. 7:15 in Charlottesville on ESPN2. Give me Texas A&M plus 2.5 at Virginia in another challenge game. Challenge continues on ESPNU at 7:15 Eastern in Winston-Salem. I'm going to take Florida minus 5.5 on the road over Wake Forest. 8 p.m. Eastern in Murray, Kentucky. I'm on Bradley minus 3.5 on the road at Murray State. 8 p.m. Eastern in Big D. I like SMU minus 1.5 at home over Dayton. 9 Eastern on CBS Sports Network in Fort Collins. All roll with Colorado plus 2.5 on the road at Colorado State. ACC Challenge at 9:15 Eastern on ESPN in Fayetteville. I'm all over Duke on the road minus 4.5 over Arkansas. 9:15 Eastern on ESPN2 in the ACC SEC Challenge. I like Virginia Tech plus 8.5 on the road at Auburn. Tigers win, Hokies cover. ACC SEC Challenge at 9:15 Eastern on ACC Network in Tallahassee. Give me Georgia on the road plus 9.5 at Florida State. And finally, the last ACC SEC Challenge game is at 9:15 Eastern on SEC Network, right up the road, about 15 minutes that way, right here in Music City, USA. Give me Vanderbilt at home minus 1.5 over Boston College. That's an even dozen plays here to get all of us going with no football until tomorrow. There was no football yesterday. There's no football today. After 5-5 yesterday, we need to get out ahead of this and hit at least 7 games tonight to get the ball rolling. Speaking of football tomorrow, NFL Thursday night action is on Amazon at 8:15 Eastern at Jerry World in Arlington, as the 8-3 Cowboys are 9-point home favorite over the 6-5 Seahawks. Dallas has played the easiest schedule in the NFL. Just stop and think about that for a minute. The easiest schedule in the NFL they have. They lost the only 2 games in which their opponent had a winning record. And tonight's going to be the 3rd. Yeah, they lost another game in Arizona, but Arizona's just bad. They just lost. Seattle's lost 3 out of 4 and have the 49ers and the Eagles next on their schedule. Right? After this one. So I think by next week, the Seahawks aren't going to have a winning record anymore. Seattle's toast, and they likely won't make the playoffs. The press will once again anoint the Cowboys as the best team in the NFL after this one, and Dak Prescott's going to win the MVP. Give me the boys at home until they prove me otherwise. NCAA Conference Championship weekend, all right? This is it. The final 10 games before we get to bowl season. So let's start right now, all right? Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network at Williams Stadium in Lynchburg, Virginia with the Conference USA Championship game. 2 teams that entered Conference USA are meeting in the title game, with unbeaten Liberty listed as a 10.5-point favorite over New Mexico State. Liberty has a home game here in the same spot that they beat the Aggies 33-17 back in week 2. Both teams are better, and despite New Mexico State's huge upset of Auburn 2 weeks ago, do they have the goods to keep up with the Flames? Liberty boasts the number 2 rushing offense in the nation, and I see nothing here that's going to slow them down. Give me the Flames and lay the 10 and a hook. Also on Friday, we got a big one at 8 Eastern on ABC at Allegiant Stadium in America's Playground, as Washington and Oregon hook up in the final Pac-12 championship game. This is basically a playoff game. The winner's in the playoffs. The loser's not. Period. You win, you're going to be one of those top 4 that gets selected on Sunday. 11-1 Oregon comes in as 9.5-point favorites over unbeaten Washington. Both teams have eyes on the college football playoff. Washington beat Oregon in Seattle about 7 weeks ago when Oregon's kicker missed a would-be game-tying 43-yard field goal on the last play of the game. Since then, Washington's continued to win some very tight games, including last week's nail-biter in the Apple Cup over Washington State. While Oregon has been crushing everyone in their path. I think they're the second best team in the country. Some might say they are the best team in the country, and they've been playing like it since they lost to Washington. Despite losing back in October to UW, they are heavily favored here for a reason. Oregon wins, but I like the Huskies, catching 9.5, possibly through the back door. Let's move on to Saturday, noon Eastern on ESPN at Ford Field in Detroit, where Toledo and Miami, Ohio meet up for the MAC championship, hashtag MACtion, with 11-1 Toledo as a 7.5 point favorite. The Rockets beat 10-2 Miami back on October 21st in Miami, 21-17 nail-biter, and they've won 11 straight after losing their opener at Illinois. Miami's only 2 losses were to Toledo and Miami, Florida in their opener. Aside from last week's squeaker over Ball State, Miami's been playing much better. And in a title game like this, with that defense, they've gotten better since the start of the season. I like the Red Hawks here with the points to keep this one close, though I still think the Rockets take the crown. Toledo wins, Red Hawks cover. Excuse me. Yes, I'm better than I was last week. A lot better. Noon Eastern on ABC at Jerry World in Arlington. 11-1 Texas is a huge 14.5 point favorite over 9-3 Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. Texas's lone loss was a heartbreaker to Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout on October 7th. And aside from that blip, the Horns have been excellent all year. Okie State has been too tough to call, as they have won 5 straight, but that win streak was sandwiched around an embarrassing loss to South Alabama and a blowout loss at Central Florida 3 weeks ago. State is a well-coached team, Mike Gundy, love Gundy, that they're just simply overmatched here. The Horns still think they have a shot at the CFP, maybe, possibly, but it's not going to happen, Texas. You will get the win, and you will cover Saturday. Horns, minus 14.5. Hook 'em. Mountain West Championship goes at 3 Eastern on Saturday on Big Fox at Allegiant Stadium in America's Playground a day after the Pac-12 plays in their championship. 7-5 Boise State's a 2.5 point favorite over 9-3 UNLV. So it was a computer that decided the 3-way tie that ended the regular season with San Jose State in the mix as well. Since none of the 3 teams played each other and none of the teams are ranked, a computer took an average of the polls to spit out UNLV and Boise State. Despite getting beat by San Jose State last week, I'm taking the Rebels here at home, catching 2 in a chunk. 4 Eastern on CBS at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Georgia and Alabama meet up for the second time in 3 years to decide the SEC championship, with top-ranked Georgia installed as 5.5 point chalk. Bama lost to Texas in week 2, but has ripped off 10 straight since, highlighted by last week's last-second miracle win over Auburn on the Plains in the Iron Bowl. UGA, on the other hand, has won 29 straight games since they lost. Yeah, 29 in a row. Ironically, the last game they lost was to Alabama back in the 2021 SEC title game. A win by Bama would put the college football playoff into complete chaos. There'd be people arguing for Oregon. There'd be people fighting for Ohio State. There'll be people fighting for Texas. There'll be people fighting for Alabama. And there'll be people fighting for Georgia. Alabama wins. Chaos ensues. Right? That's what I'm hoping for. I love the chaos. It gives everyone more to talk about. But this time you only get 1 day between the end of that game on Saturday until Sunday when the Final Four is finally released. That's what I'm hoping for, but it ain't going to happen. Georgia has progressively improved all season long and is the better team here. But they're not going to cover. I see a good one here, despite it being basically a home game for the Dogs in hot Atlanta. Georgia wins. Bama covers. Give me the points. 4 Eastern on ABC in the Big Easy. The American Athletic Championships got Tulane as a 5.5 point favorite over SMU. Tulane, playing a home game in their home stadium, they've won 10 straight since they lost to Ole Miss way back in week 2, while SMU's won 8 straight since losing to TCU back in September. In a perfect matchup of SMU's offense versus Tulane's defense, SMU has been the hotter team lately, especially when they have the ball. Tulane's the better team, but the Mustangs are the hotter team and could pull off the upset. Keep an eye on the money line, which right now is currently at plus 180. It might be worth it to throw a few shekels on it, but here I'm taking SMU, plus 5.5. Also 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN at the Vet in Troy. Sun Belt Championship pits Appalachian State against Troy, who's a 6.5-point favorite. After starting the season 1-2, Troy's won 9 straight, good enough for the regular season title, the top seed, and a home game. App State's won 5 straight after dropping 2 straight in October, but the Mountaineers come in with a big reputation as a giant killer. It's what they do. Both teams can score, so the 52.5-point total could be in play on the over, but I'm going to lay off that and just roll with the better team here. Give me Troy at home and lay the 5.5. 8 Eastern on ABC in Charlotte. Bank of America Stadium, the ACC Championship. Pits Florida State is 2.5-point favorite over Louisville. FSU is looking for their 5th straight ACC title and their first since 2014. But more importantly, a win in this one secures the Noles spot in the college football playoff. Louisville's making their first ever appearance in the title game. And despite losing last week to rival Kentucky of the SEC, their high-flying offense is ready to take on FSU's stingy defense. The Noles, though, they come in without Jordan Travis. He's their star quarterback. He tore up his ankle a couple weeks ago, but FSU just keeps on winning. It seems as though nobody wants Florida State in the playoff because without Travis, they don't have a chance. So those same people, they're all over Louisville this weekend. I'm not. I'll take the Noles and on Mike Norvell's super fast defense here. Noles minus 2.5. And finally, the last degenerate special of college football this season. We will be doing college basketball degenerates, but the last college football degenerate special, in which I'm 8-5, by the way, goes at 8 Eastern on Big Fox at the Dome in Indy. The Big Ten Championship has Michigan as a huge 23.5-point favorite over Iowa. When you think of Iowa, you think of no offense, lots of unders. What do you think? What you don't think of is the fact that they're 10-2. Though those losses were ugly, a 31-0 shutout to Penn State and a 12-10 loss at home to Minnesota. They have a great coach, though, and Kirk Ferentz will absolutely have his defense ready for Michigan. The Wolverines are a win away from the college football playoff, and I've been touting them as the best team in the nation for the last 5 weeks. I think they proved it last week over Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh is now back on the sidelines after his squad won all 3 games that he was suspended for. In fact, the Wolverines are 6-0 without Harbaugh on the sidelines this year. How many other teams in the top 5 could win 6 games without their head coach on the sidelines? None. Michigan's clearly the better team and has a lot more at stake here. But Harbaugh doesn't bury teams just to roll up the score. He doesn't do that. He's just going to run the ball down their throats. He'll be just fine with a 20-10 win. He's not going to get that. He'll get more than that. But I'm still going to take Iowa and all those points. So that's it for college football this season, for a regular season. With the only exception, like I said earlier, next week's traditional standalone Army-Navy game. All 10 title tilts going this weekend. We're looking to close out strong before bowl season starts. I'll take 6-4, but 7-3's got a better ring to it. Moving on to Sunday, NFL Week 13 continues on at 1 Eastern, right here, Music City, as the 6-5 Colts come to town as a 1-point road favorite over the 4-7 Titans. The Colts somehow keep winning games with Gardner Minshew, while the Titans have massive offensive problems with a rookie quarterback and a terrible offensive line. Tennessee plays very well at home, and they owe Indy for an earlier loss at Lucas Oil. But I just can't see the Titans winning 2 straight. Can't do it. Give me the Colts. 1 Eastern in Foxborough, the 4-7. Just listen to these games. Okay, 6-5 Colts, 4-7 Titans. The 4-7 Chargers travel cross country as 6-point road favorites over 2-9 New England. Welcome to the NFL in 2023. 4-7 versus 2-9. Seems like there's a lot of these games out there, especially this week. I'll be getting to them, and I'll be expressing my dissatisfaction with all of it. Bad football is being played this year. I've been saying it all year long. Tom Brady's echoing it now. It's bad football. There's 4 teams, maybe 5, that are really good. After that, nah. Okay, back to it. Chargers, 6-point road favorites over New England. The Chargers are the most frustrating team in the NFL. They've got a head coach that's sure to be given his walking papers soon. But I just can't take New England against anyone these days. Can't do it. Did it last week, burned me. Not going to do that shit again. Give me the Bolts, lay the number. 1 Eastern at the Superdome in the Big Easy. 8-3 Detroit comes to town as a 4-point road favorite over 5-6 New Orleans. The Saints are another painful team to watch, as Derek Carr is just not playing like a quarterback that's getting $90 million from the Saints. But the Lions, on the other hand, were eyeing the NFC's top seed in the playoffs, but they've sprung a leak all of a sudden. They should have lost 2 weeks ago, came back, beat the Bears in the final couple minutes at home. All right. Then the home loss to Green Bay on Thanksgiving, that was alarming. That was not good. Now they're heading on the road, and while they may pull it off, I'm going to dance with the Saints at home plus the points in the Big Easy. 1 Eastern at Snoopyville in New Jersey, the 5-6 Falcons are 2.5-point road chalk over the 4-7 Jets. Boy, here's a game chock full of playoff implications, right? The Falcons are 5-6 and in first place. Ouch. The Jets are on their 3rd-string quarterback and are 4-7. Double ouch. With 2 pathetic offenses, this game might just end up 3-0. The Jets have the better offense, and they're at home. I can't believe I'm actually saying this out loud, but I like the Jets. Do. 1 Eastern in the Steel City at the stadium formerly known as the Giant Ketchup Bottle. 7-4 Pittsburgh is 5.5-point home favorites over the 2-10 Cardinals. The Steelers are the worst 7-4 team possibly of all time. So I'm going to take the points and take the Cards here on the road. 1 Eastern in our nation's capital. 8-3 Miami is a 9.5-point road favorite over 4-8 Washington. The Dolphins are currently the AFC's number 1 seed. Yep, they are. Let that sink in. Season ended today. Miami, the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC goes through Miami. Bienvenidos a Miami. They can't play in cold weather, despite what happened in New Jersey on Thanksgiving. Now they're in D.C. with more cold weather and another losing team. 9.5 is too many points. Give me the Commando Skins plus the points at home. 1 Eastern in H-Town. The Texans are 3.5-point home favorites over the Broncos in a battle of 6-5 teams that are both surprises. They're both squarely in the playoff mix right now, and while I don't trust either team, Houston has that it factor, while Denver is quite possibly the most boring team in the history of the NFL. I can't even watch them, they're so bad. But they keep winning games. The Peyton/Wilson team is overrated, so I'm going to take the home team here and roll with the Texans. 4 Eastern in Tampa. The 4-7 Bucks are 5.5-point favorites over the 1-10 Panthers. 4-7 versus 1-10. No, I'm not making this up. I promise you. Bad teams are everywhere. They just are. The Bucks are not a good team. The Panthers are a horrible team. But an angle that always seems to come through is the bet the team that just fired their coach angle. The Bucks at home should win this one, and by double digits. But I'll take the 1-10 Panthers here, catching 5.5, because they just relieved Frank Reich of his duties. 4:25 Eastern in Inglewood, always up to no good. The 5-7 Ram Chops are 3.5-point home chalk over 7-4 Cleveland. The Brownies lost to Denver last week, which snapped Cleveland's 3-game losing streak, while the Rams have now won 2 straight. That followed a 3-game losing streak. The Browns have the defense, right? They do. They have the defense, and they're going to give the Rams fits. But as the Rams get healthier, they're taking on the role of spoilers. Rams win, but Cleveland covers. This week's game of the year. This week's game of the year. Every week there's a new game of the year. This week's game of the year. 4:25 Eastern in Stoniecast as the 49ers are 2.5-point road favorite over the Eagles in a rematch of last season's NFC Championship and a likely preview of this year's. Philly's getting outgained. Last 4 games they've been outgained, but they never panic and they continue to deliver when it matters. They're calm, they're poised, and nobody has a better handle of his offense right now in the entire NFL than Jalen Hurts does. Right? They just, when the chips are down and they need a first down, a field goal, touchdown, whatever, they get it. They always do. Right? That's just how it is. But they're coming off wins over Dallas, Kansas City, and Buffalo. It's hard to believe that their only loss this season was to the Jets. Ugh. The Niners, on the other hand, they rebounded from their 3-game injury-filled skid with 3 straight blowout wins, including 2 on the road. SF also has the rest factor in their favor as they haven't played since Thanksgiving. Call me crazy, but I think the 49ers can beat Philly by throwing the ball downfield over the top. And that's what Brock Purdy excels at because he leads the league in average pass yards per play. Give me the Niners in a surprisingly easy win and cover. Sunday night, 8:20 Eastern, the 8-3 Chiefs are 6.5-point road favorites over 5-6 Green Bay at Lambeau Field. KC bounced back from their 2-game skid by beating the Raiders last week, while the Packers have won 3 out of 4 to get back into contention for a playoff spot. And they haven't played since they beat up on Detroit back on Thanksgiving. And right now, Jordan Love's playing like the Jordan Love that they wanted him to be. Home dog here. KC's offensive troubles continue, and the Pack may not win, but they will make it interesting. So I'll take the 6.5. Finally, at 8:15 Eastern on Monday night in Jacksonville, the Jaguars are 8.5-point home favorites over the Bengals. After their miserable start with a banged-up Joe Burrow, Cincinnati righted the ship and started ripping off W's. But now Burrow's done for the year, and so are the Bungles. Jayville has some momentary lapses, but they're still 8-3 and healthy. Give me the Jags here to roll despite the big number. So there's all 13 NFL plays and all 10 college football matchups, which only gives us 23 plays on the gridiron side. But keep coming back and checking out the college hoops picks, which will be up daily in the comment section of this video right here starting tomorrow. I know I said that I was going to start with Friday podcasts next week, but I'm not. I'm going to keep it on. I'm going to keep them to Wednesdays through the NFL regular season, so we can hit that Thursday game instead of betting it 5 days in advance and another week. It just gets crazy. It's easier to do it on Wednesday. Then I can concentrate January and February on college basketball with the Friday night picks going into Saturday, which will be crazy. But anyway. We're going to continue to do them on Wednesday, so you just until further notice. So get those bets in right now, and I'm going to meet you at the window, period, right? So until next week, just make sure and remember that if you want to win big, you got to bet big. You can't go broke taking a profit cruise. Scared money don't make money. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you. Miss you, Gooch.